lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. And once again, I'm talking Savage Dragon. But I'm not just talking Savage Dragon. I'm talking Savage Dragon and Hellboy teaming up, two of my absolute favorite comic book characters of all time by two of my favorite creators of all time. Eric Larsen, creator of Savage Dragon, and Mike Mignola, creator of Hellboy. Now, Eric Larsen does most of the heavy lifting. Mike Mignola, I believe he just consulted maybe on dialogue to make sure Hellboy kind of sounded like Hellboy. I discovered this, I think, later into my Hellboy reading. I didn't have these issues previously. I had sporadic issues of Savage Dragon. These weren't in my collection at one point, but I had known about both of the characters, was a fan of both of the characters, and then I perusing back issue bins and trying to fill in my collection, I saw these and I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. I mean, seeing the two of them together in the same comic book content, so to have them both same episode, couldn't pass up this opportunity to talk about, again, two of my favorite issues in the Savage Dragon run. Huge fan of the Officer Dragon era, the OG Dragon. I know Malcolm, his son, also spent time as an officer as well. But this is, really, 90s image, 90s comics. Probably my favorite era in comic books, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, that's when I got into comics, and I look back on that time fondly. Yes, there is a lot of stuff that came out that's not so great, but there's a lot of stuff that came out that is fucking awesome. And you can say that about any era, though. There's always going to be stuff that's maybe not your cup of tea, but other people might like it. So while I think there's some stuff that came out in the 90s that I didn't like, there's fans of that stuff, right? I find more stuff that I like in the 90s than stuff I don't like. So I'm going to talk about two comic books that came out in the 90s that I absolutely love. Now, if you haven't read these books, I am not going to get to... I mean, they've been out for a long time, so if you haven't read them and I spoil something, my bad. But I'm just going to kind of like showcase a little bit of the book and let you guys check this stuff out. So, like I said, Eric Larsen, creator, writer, penciler, inker on the book. Mike Mignola, Hellboy creator and speech therapist is what they put. Chris Eliopoulos is the letterer. We got a few dudes on color. And like I said, this is 96. So tail end of the 90s, but this is when my comic book reading was full force. I started just a couple years earlier. Actually, I started just a few years earlier, when I was like 5. I started when I was 5. So that was in 92. So I had been reading comic books for like 4 years, but this is probably at the point where I really started paying attention to either following the characters, but also learning the creators' names and following along with them. I love, we opened up and Hellboy's fighting a Nazi robot, right? Can never go wrong with that. And it's not just any Nazi robot, it's Hitler's head inside of this robot. I think that Larsen does a really good job of kind of riffing off of Mignola's style while also really doing his version of the character. And Hellboy he fits so well into this. And this particular opening takes place in 1952. But obviously, we are going to jump forward and we're going to go into the present day because this book ages in real time, takes place in real time, and always has. And we get over to Brain Ape. Interesting to see Brain Ape as we leave the past. And we learn the connection. We learn the connection of why Hellboy's even in this scenario of teaming up with Savage Dragon. Like, why is Hellboy here? And eventually, we're going to learn why. We got Powerhouse, another one of Larsen's great designs. Kind of a weird, looks like a bale of hay, but he's chicken. Cyberface is kind of trying to find a new body. He's decomposing. We got Abner Cadaver. All great names that fucking Larsen has created. I think that he is such a wellspring of different superheroes, different villains that he just keeps coming up with them. I absolutely love it. You know, we got Frank, we got Alex, you know, the OG supporting cast who makes appearances every once in a while. You know, Alex is a kind of a factor in the book again. Frank Jr., Frank's son, is also in the book. Got up with Hellboy and in the present day, fighting vampires. Got a big ass mummy. I love the insanity and creativity that just flows out of Eric Larsen's pencils. And I'm so glad that I don't know how this team up happened. Love to kind of ask one of them how this came about, but it just seems like a match made in heaven. Hellboy's getting smacked around. Dragon comes in, grabs him midair, and is like, "Oh, you're the world's greatest paranormal investigator," right off the cover of Life magazine. As he asks him if he's okay, he says, "I suppose you're going to tell me that he started it." And he's accusing him of doing something to piss him off. So, before we get back in the story, I just got to showcase this awesome pinup of Dragon and Hellboy by the master, Mignola himself. Dope-ass image. Definitely, this should be on a t-shirt, for fuck's sake. Fighting this giant-ass mummy, and, you know, flash forward, and we're going to start to learn, as we get to the end, kind of what's going on. You know, like, why is Hellboy here? And what did it have to do with Hitler and Hitler's head in a fucking Nazi robot? Well, after they properly introduce themselves, we get back to Brain Ape and controlling Hellboy and controlling Dragon and pits them against each other because he believes he should be ruling the vicious circle. And as he sees Hellboy, he says he knows that face from somewhere. Get the German talking, and we realize it's fucking Hitler's brain inside, right? Vampire attacking Cyberface and leave it on a cliffhanger, and that leads us right into issue 35, which is the second part of the team up. And we open up with Brain Ape in full force, realizing that Hellboy is the reason that his fucking brain is in the body of a giant ape. And it's just craziness. It's absolute craziness. Eric Larsen has continued to riff off of just crazy, wild ideas. Continues to put out one of the best comic books, in my opinion, on the stands. He does it for the love of comics, and he fucking, from issue 1 of Dragon, going back to his graphic fantasy stuff, when he was doing like the self-publishing, and going into Marvel, doing the stuff at Marvel, Spider-Man, all that stuff, writing Wolverine, writing Aquaman at DC, doing a Defender series. He's always had bombastic, big ideas. His art always hits, and a giant ape with Hitler's brain inside of it just epitomizes what is so awesome about this book. We get a dope battle between Dragon and Hellboy. Some really dope splashes. Definitely what you would expect from a knockdown, brawl-out fight between two absolute bruisers. You know what I mean? Like, just hulking behemoth guys. And I believe Dragon is a little bit stronger than Hellboy in this instance. And while they're being controlled physically, mentally, they're still talking it out and like, how do we stop this? And even like a line, how come you didn't hit the mummy like that? The opportunity to present itself, whereas you walked right into that one. How you holding up? Like, even asking him as he's beating the shit out of him, like, how you doing? Are you all right? So, like I said, this is just favorite team ups that Larsen has done throughout this run. He's had the Spawn team up, which I talked about. Later on, there's more team-ups with other characters as the series progresses, but this is probably one of my favorite two-parters. I mean, just the monsters, the design, just the scope of this, too, like, showing them so tiny against this massive monster, and how they eventually have to get out of there. Brain Ape, aka Hitler, thinks he's destroyed them for good. Cyberforce is interacting with the venom from the vampires, so he's cured in a way. Fighting skeleton pirates inside of this monster. It's just insane. It's insane. But it's such a fun comic book. Hold on, let's just check out this Savage Dragon Hellboy pinup by Jay Lee. So dope. Another thing that would be dope on the t-shirt. Just awesome. Definitely, Jay Lee style circa the 90s as opposed to what you may recognize his art as now. Really awesome comic book. I mean, really awesome pinup. Continuing to fight their way out of this monster. And there's only one way they're going to get out. And that's going through its ass. That's right. They crawled out of the fucking monster's ass. And much to Brain Ape, aka Hitler's dismay, they knock him out and bash him so much that the brain sprouts brain stems, runs away from the two of them, and Hellboy can't fucking hit him with his fucking gun for the life of him. Dragon takes us out with the blade straight to the brain. I don't know how else to say it. But what a great issue! What a great pair of issues! Just very awesome. He even tries to recruit Dragon to the BPRD. Dragon's not feeling it. He says, "Keep in touch. He may be looking for a new job after this little fiasco." And I didn't say it with issue 34, but again, something I've always loved about Savage Dragon are the letters pages. Now, they're not as extensive as they used to be, but still extensive. And I'm going to add for Wizard 69. But that's Savage Dragon 34 and 35. The Hellboy team up. The best team up in Savage Dragon history, in my opinion. Absolutely love these issues. They're great every time you read them. I've read them multiple times. I hope you guys pick them up if you can in the backstreet bin, online. Get the Savage Dragon archives. However you can. Read them because they are great comics. And also, make sure you add Savage Dragon to your pull or check your local comic shop. See if they have a recent issue. You can't go wrong with a Savage Dragon comic. Always fun. Eric Larsen still going strong. Issue 261, I believe, is the most recent. And there's no signs of him slowing down. So, Savage Dragon, pick it up. And if you're not already following us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Like, follow, and subscribe to the channel. Throw your comments or suggestions down below. Hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, I'm out.